The language we use in the monetary system is subject to interpretation, and our behaviour is created by the environment, which is unequal. If we think that genes could predispose certain behaviours, then the present justice system is rendered useless. If the environment is the same for everyone, and you take into account genes, then the justice system would be fairer. But why do you need a justice system? Because there are injustices? But why are there injustices? Because of the environment, product and service scarcity, because of inequality among people. In the monetary system, people are not equal. The differences between social classes can be huge. So a justice system would not be useful in the monetary system. It's just an accepted idea, nothing more.
Even words like criminal behavior.
Right.
You know, what is a serial killer? Is a serial killer a guy with a machine gun that kills a lot of people? What is a killer? What is a criminal? Well, King Solomon had 1,000 wives. He would be arrested as a bigamist today. So what you call admirable behavior in the past doesn't make sense. I think that all lawyers would be considered criminals in the future. This goes along with all politicians would be considered criminals because they say things people like to hear. They don't always speak the truth because it wouldn't get them anywhere. So I would say that insurance companies that put out small print, that is with criminal intention. So what you call a criminal depends on the culture you live in. When the Romans used to feed Christians to lions, that was not considered criminal behavior. Today, it would be considered criminal behavior. So before you talk to people about there's too much crime in the world, ask them what they mean by crime. Do they mean false advertising? Does it mean what the drug companies claim about their pills? Does that mean when a doctor says you need an operation, is he trying to pay off a new boat or a house, or do you really need the operation? In other words, it's very hard to tell criminal behavior, and unless you define your terms of what you mean by criminal behavior. The latest definition of a criminal is one who's caught.
You can't walk over to a judge and say everything you do is based on ignorance. He says, how do you see that? How do you mean that? I say, if you ever run into a judge that talks that way, you're halfway there. I've never met a person that says, how do you mean that? You know? So if you say to a judge, everything you do is erroneous, unreal, you might as well be a headhunter. You're putting people in jail, you're judging people, you know nothing about their background. He says, I know plenty about it. He's a criminal. He's been in jail before. That's his yardstick. Associative memory. So all our actions are based on associative memory. Do you understand what that means? Your experience, not the truth. But there are a lot of people that can afford an attorney who can look up the person that claimed he raped. And they could say, well, didn't you once claim that once before in another court? Or make her look like a cheap prostitute. You know what I mean? If you have a good enough attorney, he can take anything anybody says and twist it around. You understand? And if you can afford only a mediocre attorney, you might wind up 2 years in jail. If you can afford a good attorney, you might get 2 weeks probation, you know, a month probation. So attorneys must understand by that alone they are corrupt. If you can hire a better attorney than I can, you are corrupt, so's the attorney for defending you. If he was honest, he'd say, the other attorney, you got a point there. I can't disagree with you. If attorneys were honest, right?
The punishment of this justice system is to deprive man from what the system offers. Objects, services, access, information, trapping him in some rooms almost empty. But to get in possession of these services and goods in the first place, you have to work for the monetary system. Do not forget that. So, the justice system deprives a man from participation in the monetary system, locking him into a virtually empty room for a period of time. Let's see the effects that prisons have among prisoners and guards.
In the early 1970s, an experiment on the psychology of imprisonment was carried out at Stanford University by psychologist Philip Zimbardo and his colleagues, who created their own jail in the basement of the Stanford Psychology Building. The students who volunteered for the study were carefully tested. Each had to be psychologically and physically healthy to participate. Some students were then randomly selected to act as prisoners, while others became guards. The researchers surprised the prisoners by having them arrested at their homes and dormitories. The prisoners went a series of rituals to establish their new lowly status. They lived in tiny cells 24 hours a day, cut off from their usual surroundings.
Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819.
The guards, however, only worked 8-hour shifts, and they returned to their normal routines as students when off the job. What happened surprised everyone, including Zimbardo. The illusion became the reality. The boundary between the role each person was playing and his real personal identity was erased. Nice boys became brutal guards. Healthy kids got sick. Active ones became passive and zombie-like prisoners. The situation became so overpowering that many of the prisoners developed extreme stress reactions and had to be released.
So up inside. I feel really up inside. You don't know. I gotta go. To a doctor, anything. I can't see now. I'm up. I don't know how to explain it. I'm all up inside. Out! Out! God damn it. Up. You don't know. I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm burning up inside. Don't you know? I can't take it.
The scene you just saw, it was at the end of only 36 hours into the study. Each day after that, another prisoner had a similar reaction. And so at the end of 5 days, we had 5 kids. Kids we chose because they were normal and healthy, having emotional breakdowns.
But no one ever said, I quit the experiment. They had lost all perspective. What kind of guard would you be, sadistic or supportive? Would you be a conforming prisoner or a heroic resistor? The prison study, like Milgram's experiment, is not typical of research in social psychology. Some psychologists feel both studies violated ethical guidelines and should never have been done. At times, even Zimbardo forgot he was an experimenter and acted like a prison warden. Though the experiment was meant to last 2 weeks, it was called off after 6 days.
And are given a role, a job, saying your job is to keep these people in line, then you're certainly not the same person as if you were in street clothes and in a different role. You really become that person once you put on that khaki uniform, you put on the glasses, you take the nightstick, and you act the part. That's your costume, and you have to act accordingly when you put it on.
I had really thought that I was incapable of this kind of behavior. I was surprised, I was dismayed to find out that I could really be that I could act in a manner so absolutely unaccustomed to anything I would even really dream of doing. And while I was doing it, I didn't feel any regret. I didn't feel any guilt. It was only afterwards when I began to reflect on what I had done that this behavior began to dawn on me, and I realized that this was a part of me I hadn't really noticed before.
It still is a prison to me. I don't look on it as an experiment or a simulation. It's just a prison that was run by psychologists instead of run by the state. I began to feel that that identity, that the person that I was that had decided to go to prison was distant from me, was remote, until finally I wasn't that. I was 416. I was really my number, and 416 was going to have to decide what to do. It let me in on some knowledge that I've never experienced firsthand. I've read about it. I've read a lot about it, but I've never experienced it firsthand. I've never seen someone turn that way. And I know you're a nice guy. You know? You understand? I do. I do know you're a nice guy. I don't get that because I know what you can turn into. I know what you're willing to do. If you say, oh, well, I'm not going to hurt anybody. Oh, well, it's a limited situation. It's over in 2 weeks.
Well, you in position, what would you have done?
I don't know.
The solution could be an attempt to escape the situations that requires justice prevention. Again, education, and for extreme cases, for example mental illness, medical aid. The monetary system cannot prevent such situations because people aren't considered equal. There can be large differences between social classes. Environment creates behavior. Predisposing genes are triggered by the environment. Language is subject to interpretation. Today's environment is uneven. With these influences, the justice system is useless.